Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope you're all doing well. Just give me one moment here. All right, it is that time. It is that time. And it seems like the times may be better today. We do actually have some pretty significant movers here. BATL and TMDE, both moving immensely. All right. I am going to turn off the music for now, just because we do seem to have more action, so I want to have less emphasis on the music today. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning, Carl. Good morning, Orion. Good morning. These words, man. These names, I just can't. Chizarangu. Good morning, Soul. All right, so because of the war, I'm not surprised these two stocks are doing better. It makes sense energy stocks would perform much better. And really, going forward, energy stocks, at least for the next day or two, might perform very well or exceptionally well. In addition, that might, just because it's the end of the month, actually, let me get my mic a little closer. Just because it's the end of the month, that could also mean that people are willing to at least retest going into March here. If you haven't already, please do leave a like. It helps me out. And yeah, I guess we're just waiting to see if anything new comes up on top of the hour. Looking at other stocks, we do also have some movers that are around 30%. So this could... Yeah, I mean, it seems that the general theme is higher, right? Looking at the gap scanner. The last week, we were even struggling to get stocks to hit 30%. Just going into pre-market here, we have several stocks that have already hit 30%, some over 100. So this definitely seems like a much warmer day that already exceeds the entire last week. Good morning, John. TPET also had a pretty big move. Yeah. Bit of a cheaper stock, but I mean, it's moved over 100%. I'm quite surprised that BATL and TMDE were moving before the war had begun, right? If you look at the activity of both of these on the prior day, so this one had some volume coming in the prior day. Just like observing it. Right, you had this big spike and it didn't actually fully retrace. And BATL, we had kind of this instance of BATL where on the daily, this one just was having movement recently. So I'm wondering if that was people anticipating this news about the war. Good morning. Finally, hot market. Well, don't get ahead of yourself, right? Don't get ahead of yourself. Like, always just be prepared for the... Because we've seen many instances in cold markets where there will be a hot spurt from just one theme, and then it will immediately cool down. The real tell if it's a hot market will be if other stocks also move proportionally higher. Now, it seems like we're seeing that because, like I said, we're seeing stocks move even 30%. across the board for a lot of these movers. So this does suggest that we are in a hotter market, but I don't want to jump the gun. I'm optimistic, but I'm not jumping the gun yet. Hello, finally action, woohoo. Yeah, it is nice. I mean, I was getting tired of seeing just paint dry every day. Hopefully we get more than just TMDE and TPET. Well, we did have BATL. I mean, you look at BATL, this one, don't forget this one too. This one moved over 100% this morning. These energy stocks may mask the overall cold small cap market. Hopefully not. Yeah, and that's what I'm worried about, Carl. It can be very easy for us to just see these bigger movers and assume the cold market is over. I'm trying to think, what was that stock? There was a stock back in November that had a really big move, and then it sparked MOVE. I forget what the original one was, but it was like MOVE moved and one other big stock moved, and everyone was thinking that the cold market was over, but it was only those two stocks that moved over 100%, and then everything else just went back to cold. Like nothing else was resolving well. So I'm aware of that is a possibility. I need structure and continuation to even get an entry signal. Yeah. Just curious, am I able to even short any of these? BATL? Nope, not able to short BATL now. TPAT, that's under $1. And TMDE probably wouldn't either. I mean, it's over $1 now. I can't even short TMDE. Okay. I mean, that's fine, because I wasn't planning to short any of these anyway. INDO. I'm just trying to get a read for what short locates are like. So this one doesn't have a very difficult borrow fee. It is 14 million shares outstanding, almost 15 million. Okay. USEG. This is pretty close to $1. Right. Also very low borrow rate. I mean, 37 million makes sense. Okay. Okay, hope you guys all had a good weekend. Good morning, no thanks. Good morning. Okay, BATL curling back up here. I didn't trade it on Friday, and the same reason still applies here. The stock has too much potential to attempt to short it. But I want to see these stocks resolve. I'm hoping it doesn't just become an energy sector specific move set, but I want to see these stocks do well. The better they do, the more people may be willing to attempt other stocks. So it's important these stocks do well. Huge volume coming in here too. Yeah, so notably right at 7 we had a spike pre-7. It did look like it was going to flush, but at 7 it actually held and we started a recurl. Why not? Then at least we would have a hot sector. And I get that. Yeah, that's right. Having a hot sector is better than just having a a blanket cold market. I do get that. I'm just saying I would prefer if everything moved. That way, there would be more opportunities. But yes, certainly I would prefer even just one hot sector over no hot sector. Certainly. Okay, so we have a pretty big cup and handle forming. We haven't formed the handle yet, but we clearly formed the cup. Higher volume here, also good to see. This is quite high volume for this price. Yeah, and looking at the level 2... It's slightly thick, but not terribly. You've got a bit of a spread. There's some sizable orders, but they aren't that big. Okay, no, there was a big hidden seller there. At around 1160, there was like a 20,000 share order that popped up for a second. Yeah, 1160 could be big resistance. 20,000, I mean, that can be overpowered in a minute, I suppose. Good morning, Skivon. You chose a good time to actually come in early here. We actually have some pretty big movers this morning. It hasn't moved much yet, but INDO may be worth keeping on watch. You're still seeing pretty high volume, and this has held. So this could turn into something. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like anything new has popped up at the top of the hour. So we're mostly just watching these continuations, which, I mean, for now, this is plenty of action to keep an eye on. Okay, that resistance I was talking about broke at 1160, I believe. And 200,000 too. First time trading during a war. We expecting a big drop at open? I mean, it depends, right? So here's my thing. This war is like not a war. I don't really anticipate that it's going to continue for very long. It's just not it's a very one-sided war, right? So any energy stocks that move, I think they're probably going to be overblown. So whether they fail in one day or they fail in a week, I don't know. But my anticipation is that the war won't last long. These moves are overhyped. That's my anticipation, my prediction. And this is back up to high here. This is pretty much the key level to watch. Yeah, we have the entire cup that's formed. We're waiting to see if we get a handle or we just straight up break out. Looking at the volume here is higher than pre-market. Like, note this, right? On this volume, it spiked up immensely. But even so, our current volume is higher. Yeah, so we did get a nice breakout by about 50 cents, and then just a very quick rejection. Very interesting to see it just barely break out of this level, then immediately flip. I was waiting on BATL over the weekend when I heard the news, but it is a bit overextended now. Yeah. I wasn't sure. Like, I knew that BATL was already extended, but in my mind, it's just confirming a war when it's a literal... I think this is a literal oil company. It just seemed natural that this would move higher, but in my head, I was just kind of... it was hard for me to picture because I'm like, but it's already moved so much. But this should be a huge catalyst for it. So I'm not really surprised it moved more. But it's just kind of hard to imagine something making another 100% move after already moving 500%. Right? This is a move, right? This isn't like a reverse split or something. When was this? The 23rd? Yeah, this doesn't look like a reverse split. This looks like a genuine gapper. I had a level drawn at 11. Okay. Yeah, so actually, looking at the volume, this doesn't look that pretty, right? Seeing the highest candle of volume and significantly more than the others be a massive red candle, it reads to me like a potential rug. I don't really like to see that. We'll see here, though. If this can hold up and this can form a bit more of a cup and handle, like the handle form, and that could resolve into something better. But right now, just seeing this huge red candle, especially considering how extended it is, it doesn't feel reassuring. Yeah, we're already up to 37 viewers. Not surprised, given the situation today. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, I mean, I have to say I'm probably bearish just because of this single candle. I know it could still form that handle, but this just looks incredibly bearish to me. I made money on BATL on the drop candle. Bottom ticked it. I mean, good job on the bottom tick, but this just looks incredibly bearish. And like your upside wasn't very big. But good stuff. Good stuff. I don't think I would have taken it even with the long bias trade. I think there's order spoofing on BATL. It had 90k shares bid at 1150, then disappeared and dropped. Interesting. So you say 1150. Back here, I saw what looked like a 20 or 30,000 seller on 1150. So I think it's interesting, Andy, that we're saying the same exact level we saw a big order. It's very interesting. And in fact, the fact that that big order broke and that's where we found support also seems interesting. Right, because it's still holding around this 1150 area. Yeah, very interesting. Oh, during the drop. Let's see. I have incredible tight wrists, so don't worry. This is like a B quality setup to you. Okay. Taping level 2. Only on those. Yeah. Ross made money on BATL. I'm not surprised. Where did he buy? Here, and he sold into this final spike, I'm guessing. That's probably why it plunged. His sellers, his His students getting out probably here. Ross probably selling at the top. But good on him, though. He managed to get the front side. This was a very nice grind up. He got out at 11:48. Okay, so he got out early. Okay. And I think that actually does make sense, too. Because, like, looking at this, I would have expected better resistance to be around this area. So for him to get at 11:48, that does make sense. INDO popping up. Yeah, it is popping up. I did call out to watch it, and it seems like it is getting a little more traction. Yeah, we were seeing it hold here, and that there was some volume starting to come through at 7. It seems like the volume is increasing. Just rechecking shorts. So yeah, still only 7%. Hey, Cap'n. Any tips for escaping the Middle East? Well, I'm not a refugee, so... Any tips for escaping the Middle East? I guess go at night? I don't know. Pack enough food for multiple days? Days might not even be enough. Yeah, it's a bad state over there. Am I shorting the pennies? I'm not really able to for the most part. I'm not 100% sure, but it seems like Webull doesn't let you short stocks under $1, which I'm totally fine with because that wasn't what I back tested anyway. I back tested stocks from $1 to $10. So that's really the range I'm looking for. It gets a bit more iffy when a stock would say be, I don't know, under $1, but then it pops over $1. Then it's like, well, do you short it because it's over $1, but it was under $1. So you get in a bit more iffy territory there. Like BATL, it's just way too expensive now. And not only that, but this one has just so much potential in it to move more. So yeah, I cannot honestly engage with it. INDO now coming up on my scanners as well. Yeah, the volume scanner starting to get pinged. Might have some difficulty getting filled on Webull. That doesn't actually seem to be my experience for the specific strategy I'm doing. What I'm finding is that if you locate shares at the start of the move, then those shares become yours. But it's important that you get in at the start of the move. Or the float just needs to be really high, right? INDO, 14 million shares. I'm able to short this one, and the borrow rate is pretty low. So if it's easier to borrow stock in general, like a higher float, you probably don't even have to worry about locating shares on Webull. It's more so if the float is low, then if it is the first time it's moving, there's not a whole bunch of shorts on it. So if you locate immediately, then, and it seems like there's about roughly a 5 to 10 minute grace period, where if you get in within the first 5 to 10 minutes, or place orders, then you seem to be good. But yeah, I have been testing over several different trades that I was in, where I was able to get in short at the start of the move, but I was not able to get short in the middle of the move, which is one thing to certainly consider. Yeah. How do I factor level 2 into my back test, or is it more like a forward test? The level 2 was not factored. That was not... The thesis was more broad than just level 2. The thesis was about what kind of stocks move in a hot or cold market, what is their general ranges, what is their general retracements. We weren't looking for level 2 data or like specific normal indicators for an exit or entry. It's very counterintuitive to what I'm used to, and it's something I still got to work on, because I cut the last time I took a trade with this strategy, I cut it 10 cents early just because it retraced like 85% in the first 15 minutes, and I'm just thinking, man, this has to be the end. And then it did actually end up going to my initial target price, and I would have made another 10 cents on it. So it just kind of blows my mind that even though the stock can act so irrationally, if I deviate from the strategy, I mean, I've deviated from it, and I got punished for it, right? I didn't make as much as I could have. And that's a big deal, right? If I'm expected to have edge doing a certain system, and I'm deviating and I'm losing edge from that, that detracts from the power of the system. So it's going forward, what the new plan is, and this is what I've kind of decided, is if I see that if my intuition is telling me you should cover here or you should add here, don't break the system. Keep following it for now, but just document what you would have done. And then over enough trades, see if your intuition was giving you profit or if it was taking away profit, right? Because this could just genuinely be the case where my intuition is incorrectly wired for this strategy, and intuition actually would be a detriment. So that's kind of the conclusion I drew. Good morning, Sunny. Tide moving, TMDE. Yeah, this one's been moving. I mean, right now it's not even really moving per se. You got some volume here, but relative to the rest of this move, especially back here, this volume isn't really significant. Now, it is holding up well, so I will give it that, right? This is certainly holding up impressive. But the actual volume hasn't come back, and it isn't really moving much. Maybe keeping an eye on it could be a good call, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's breaking out yet. IDO. I mean, you got like a $1.20 move from this whole move. It's pretty impressive in that sense. Still, this thing going way up here to 9 is crazy work. Yeah, realistically, I just can't mess with this one. Yeah, we're coming up on the half hour. We'll see if we get any new news. It is nice to at least see these stocks moving, so I'm not just falling asleep. But nothing really new has been popping up that I can really jump on yet. Okay, half hours here. Let's see if we get anything noteworthy. Can we please get something new moving? Please. Yeah, that's how I am. I'm really happy to see these stocks moving, and I mean, for the most part, they're still holding up relatively well for the moves, but it's just unfortunate if we're not going to get any new follow-ups. I mean, I assume we're going to get at least something. Within the next 2 hours, we should get at least something that attempts a move. And that's really going to be the real test, right? When we see something else move that isn't energy related, I got some in my eye, will that be affected by the energy hot market sector, right? That's really the question. And I guess even just a more simple question is, if we see an energy mover, how much does it move because we know that energy stocks are hot? Well, if we see an energy company put out news, are we going to see just like 100% move on it? Feels like anything that moves will sell off after such a cold stretch. Maybe. I don't know. Like, I'm torn because the thing is, this isn't just like a one-off. Like, the thing is with the hot markets is that when you get these bigger moves, they can hold up better sometimes. Sometimes, right? There's also a lot of times where, like with the Bitcoin sector, you would see stocks during crypto events last year where stocks would move up 100, 200%, but they wouldn't hold the gains. They would give it all back within 2 days. But you've also seen moves where they would make big moves up and they would hold them for weeks or maybe even make multiple legs. So it's genuinely difficult to tell the difference. The volume has been a little elevated today, but still quite muted compared to these super high volume pre-market runners. Yeah, like, trying to think. Like, let's look at a stock that is moving, but is a relatively lower mover. No, even this. So, like, even a stock like this that is not really moving, this volume is definitely low and unimpressive. But compared to last week, this is actually much elevated volume, even for the lower movers. Let me look at a couple others. Let's see, this one. Yeah, this one's okay. This one's just kind of crap. This one actually had a pretty big spike. I didn't even realize because it sold off so much, but yeah, this one made a pretty impressive move, $4 to $7. So this is like what, a 66% move or something? 75% move. Like this is an impressive move, and there's quite a lot of volume to it. Low volume but more elevated than what we're used to. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, Arthur. Good morning. I'm comparing more so VSEE and CMBM and BTTC from like October, November. Okay, so you're looking at like BATL, how much volume we got here relative to the big movers back in October, November. Yeah, I'd be careful about drawing too many connections there because October was genuinely just like September, October was genuinely a very, very hot cycle in general. Like everything was moving. So right now, I'm trying to understand if we're shifting to a warm market in general or if it's just a cold market. Your analysis is suggesting that we have a nice spark from the energy sector, but this spark doesn't seem to be as big as the hot market spark we saw back then. And I think that could be a valid signal. All right, and that's really what we got to look at. I was going to wait for new stocks to come up. Like NT, okay, so we have NTLA. This one just kind of exploded. Okay, so like I'm able to short this one. It's not even... What is the shares outstanding? There's not even a borrow fee on this one. What is the... Okay, so 115 million shares. And this one's straight up 13 to 16. Announces FDA removes clinical hold on its investigative new drug. I mean, that's genuinely good news. Yeah. I'm not surprised it's bounced like this. Yep, I know. I'm not necessarily saying I don't trade other stuff, but I really like the very high volume ones. Yeah. No, I get that. No, this should be really good news, though. Right, you can assume that the drug got held here at 1028. That's just where I'm assuming because there's a massive gap down. Yeah, the fact that they unheld it, maybe people were anticipating it because it started to curl back up. But yeah, this has a lot of room to move. Like it's up to 26. And that's quite a gap. So this has room to run. Looking at the spread, you got about a 40 cent spread. So a bigger spread on this one too. If we slip into hotter markets, is your new shorting strategy affected, or is that still yet to be tested? I have tested it in all markets, cold and hot. Yes, I can still use it in a hot market. There are some adjustments I need to make with it. But yes, it can operate in a hot market as well. And this could make it a very difficult period too, because if we are shifting between the two markets, it's difficult to know if I should be applying the cold market standards or if I should be applying the hot market standards, right? And right now, this is a spark. I don't know if it's going to convert into anything. So that certainly makes the situation a little more ambiguity filled. STAK broke resistance. Yeah, it's certainly grinding higher, penny stock, but yeah, it's making a new high. Good volume on it too. $19 million. Same here. I don't want to size up, get aggressive until I know we have switched from a cold to hot. Yeah. Yeah, my plan, at least for now, in the very immediate term, is if I see stocks popping up coming into play, I'm going to short them using the cold market framework. But I'm just accepting that, okay, we could be in a transitionary period. It's quite a jump. 47 cents up to 68. That's like, what, a 50% move in 10 minutes? That's quite the move. Yeah, but now it's giving half of it back. Oh, this one's a bit weird, right? You saw this one pop up on low volume, high volume near the top, and then it just gave the entire thing back. But then, interestingly, it makes another attempt up. So this one's complicated. It's a bit difficult for me to really assess it. Although, just the fact that it's a penny stock, I guess I should default to penny stock in a downtrend, more likely bearish than not. Also, no news on this. Like, maybe this is just a pure energy company, I'm not sure. But, let's see. Oh, it's a Chinese company. Okay, even better. All right, Chinese company. Dollar volume traded is a key factor if it works, if it's a long, or if a long works or not. Yeah, and certainly, right? You look at 400,000 shares traded here, but it's on a 60-cent stock, right? You compare that to BATL. Only the very peak volume was 400,000. A lot of these were less than 400,000, but this is still more impressive because the dollar volume, like you said, is much higher. So yeah, certainly, that is certainly something I look at. I don't just look at the volume and say, oh, it's 100,000 volume, it must be moving a lot. It's how much volume is there relative to the price. That's a very important detail. Yeah, it's a little low on volume so far. Yeah, relative to the price, this volume is low. I do agree, yeah. Well, I wouldn't even call it low. I'd call it medium, right? I don't think this is insignificant volume. I mean, it's enough volume to where it's moving 50%. But for a continued move that is stabilized by buying pressure, this does seem like it's on the lower end of volume. That's just my read anyway. TLA. I'm going to be genuinely surprised if this breaks back down, because this seemed like such a good catalyst to me. I really expected this to just make another leg up and continue higher to like 20 or something. And just a heads up too, I do have the Thinkorswim account up. I went ahead and called them up, and I did get the restrictions removed, right? So, you know, Thinkorswim would restrict stocks. I got that removed, and I tested it on a bunch of different stocks that I knew were restricted, and they let me trade them. So we're good to go there. I have 2,100 coming in for that account. Should settle today, I think. And if it does, then tomorrow I might test the stream on that account instead, just to kind of test out the two. Because ideally what I want to happen is if for whatever reason I can't short in one account, there's a chance I could short in the other. So I really want to see how the two accounts compare. And I can even look at things like borrow fee. And I'm really just curious how their locates work if one of them is better than the other. Do they kind of complement or work in tangent with each other? These are questions to all look into. NTLA continuing to what appears to be sell-off. Yep. So in terms of movers at the half hour, we had NTLA didn't really get that much volume. Like this is kind of a red flag to me. Even for it being a more expensive stock, this volume isn't that high. This really does signal to me that just energy sector is getting the volume. It's not that volume has returned. This one's moving, but it's on no news. And it's a Chinese stock, so this just could be manipulation. INDO is still holding up very well. And even despite this massive plunge, BATL is still actually holding up pretty well. Same with TMDE. All right, so ideally, I mean, the next best case is that these stocks all hold up well so that future energy stocks that move at the top of the hour news can be capitalized on. But stocks like NTLA, and this is only one sample, so we'll need more. But the fact that this one didn't get a lot of volume coming in on news does signal to me that people aren't really willing to engage with stocks that aren't energy sector related, right? This is just a biotech stock that presumes they're biotech things. DOXY moving. Okay, so this one had a pretty big rug pull, but then stabilized. Finally making a breakout attempt here. Yeah, it looks like some sort of pump and dump. Recent IPO that rugged. Singapore company. Possible accumulation here. We do have some resistance around this 140 area, but we are above that. Let's see, shorts unavailable. Gotcha. Okay. And this would be one, for example, where I would want to cross-reference on Thinkorswim. No news on this either. So this is a foreign company spiking up over 50% on no news. Was this just a pump and dump? Yeah, Cinnabar company. Yep. Now, the yearly chart really shows the picture, though. This was a stock that came out, got pumped up, huge rug pull here, and it's just kind of gone flat since. Possible accumulation here, right? Because this didn't continue lower. So there could be someone holding a very large position around 90 cents. So they would want to sell at this level. You think about where this went to. This went to $2 essentially. Right, $2 is here. Like, that's a pretty big gap up on no news. Very suspicious mover, for sure. I'm noticing a pattern too. So I avoid the accumulation style setups. So you look at the daily. I'll do it on here. You look at the daily, the way the stock is set up, right? This has been an accumulation style setup. It's been going flat to slight uptrend. And my system calls for avoiding shorting these because these are prone to potential pumps. And as it turns out, right, I was not able to get short locates on this. And I don't think that's by coincidence. You think if a stock is trending up, then the odds it's getting shorted is higher, which would explain why I'm unable to locate shares even after trying to get in 3 minutes. So it's almost like it's protecting me not being able to short some of these. If I'm able to short it, that suggests it is the right stock to short. If I'm not, it suggests that shorts have already attempted this and this could be going underwater. RBNE. Okay, yeah, so this one made a big move earlier. The volume on this push is relatively similar to all this. Interesting how despite this entire move, the volume on this has never really calmed down, right? It popped up, had decent volume. Even during the entire sell-off and the consolidation, this volume profile never really dropped off that much. A little bit here towards the end, but this was still pretty similar levels to all of this. So this is interesting. This doesn't seem like the typical volume at the front, gradual sell-off as people give up. It doesn't really read that way to me. Yeah, that's a bit unusual. You've got that slight uptrend. I don't remember this, but this looks like one heck of a move. 1602. So it made like a 5x move. 6, 7x move. This is a new stock that just kind of trending down. 6-7. Oh, he said the word. We gotta ban him. All right, we're coming up on the top of the hour. So NTLA is the only stock that's really moved with news recently. DLXY, foreign stock, getting some volume. STAK, foreign stock, getting some volume. Both STAK and DLXY, neither of these have news, and both of them are Chinese stocks. So, curious to see if this is just pumpers recognizing that people are watching the markets because it's hotter, and maybe they're trying to capitalize on that by pumping these stocks. I'd be very curious to see if that's the case. If both of these end up rolling over, I think we'll have our answer. But yeah, considering how much opportunity there was, and seeing that this is like what we're getting, and yeah, this does just look like a rug pull. But considering the moves that we're getting, like we've gotten 2 Chinese stocks that appear to be rug pulls. We've had NTLA that hasn't had great volume come in after the fact, and it's kind of just trending down. I want to short DLXY, but wasn't quick enough. GG. Yeah. Yeah, foreign company, no news. History of rug pulling. All right, so we're getting a really kind of scuffed looking handle, but we are kind of getting a handle here. I hate that the majority of the volume came through on this massive rejection, but it does look like this is potentially curling back up. Both STAK and DLXY are oil and gas. Okay. Do you think people are just jumping on anything in that sector? So, is that true? So, these are both foreign stocks. Are they both Chinese? I forget. Attention span of a goldfish. Okay, let's see. No, Singapore and China. All right. But still, so you're saying both of these are oil and gas company. Let's see. Okay, you're correct on STAK. Let me verify with DLXY now. Let's see. Oil. Okay, so it's a little less nuanced than foreign companies pumping on no volume, and you're very correct to call it out. The fact that these 2 stocks that pumped on no news were both oil companies is very, very relevant. And I think you're absolutely correct to point that out, Silent. Yeah, so it could be the case that foreign companies right now, if it has oil or energy in the name, if you see it popping even a little bit, there could be something to just jumping on it for the first few minutes. Because it seems like we're getting these stocks that are popping, and even though they're failing, they're getting some moves on them. And there could be something to that. I find it very weird that it's foreign stocks that are doing it, potential manipulation, but there does seem to be the pattern there. BATO is an American company? Yep. Yeah, that one is an American. I didn't call that one foreign. If I did, then I misspoke. But no, yeah, this one's American. Yeah, I was referring to STAK and DLXY. DLXY has 16 million float and traded 1.4 million. Yep, they can do that sometimes. I wouldn't also fully trust what you see for float. A lot of times they can be misleading. Sometimes brokers don't update, or there's things that the brokers can't know where they pull their data from. So always take the float with a grain of salt. All right, going from 120 to almost 180. That's a 50% pop in 1 minute on what is essentially 50,000 volume. For 14 million, that really shouldn't happen. But if that 14 million is locked up, it makes a lot more sense. All right, SPAI getting a little bit of a move here. Light volume right now, though. No news on it. It's also a continuation. It's moved a little bit in the last several days. Never trust a Chinese float, especially. Yeah. Yeah, that's very true. I'm already skeptical of any stocks float. I'll usually look at level 2 to make the final decision on if it's actually a low float or not. But yeah, especially a Chinese stock, those ones yeah. SPAI has news? I don't see news. It's not populating for me if it does have news. Also, the volume it's getting is relatively low, right? Only about 7,000 total volume here. Finviz, BATL floats 16 million and 18 plus traded. I mean, I'm looking at the shares outstanding and it says 16 million. So unless all of the shares are tradable, except for like 400,000, I'd argue that the float's probably lower than that. Okay, so now I am getting news here. It was just delayed for me. It just came through at 8:01. Yeah, it definitely was delayed because I was looking at this before 8:01. Or I was looking at it at 8:02. So the news just came in late for some reason. Completes rapid delivery of AI edge processing systems to US government under $1 million contract award. That's a lot of buzzwords. So normally contract is a huge buzzword for me. That's good. But considering they're completing it means that it was already known and it's not any new information to price in. See, this just reeks of headline appealing. Right, looking for buzzwords. Are we really not getting anything with news that's moving? This is very, very disappointing if true. BG. Yeah, earnings. So quite the drop into recovery though. Well, because insider owned doesn't mean they can't sell. Need to check filings. Too much work. Yeah. Yep. I created an AI news rating system. Wow. Gave it the headline, and it rates it on momentum potential with justification. It's handy. So is it able to differentiate, like, with SPAI, right? So this one, the wording is extremely specific. So if it's just rating for, like, contract award, it would probably rate it higher. But does it understand the context that this contract award was already known because they completed it? It did not like the SPAI headline. And was it able to give you reasons? Because I guess it's one thing if it just can tell you it doesn't like it, but are there any weights that you're getting back that, or any kind of like signal that it outputs that says specifically why? Or are you just simply saying that you just configured the weights to have it spit back roughly a number or a range of what it expects it to move? Kind of like I know the answer, but I can't necessarily explain the reasoning. Because that could be pretty nice. Like if your model is accurate, then you could potentially participate with algo pumps, right? You could build an algo that would run your AI, and then depending on what the output is, you could buy into some of these algo spikes. Yeah, LITX popping, but it's way too pricey. So I then paste in the full press release, and it will rate it for risk, looking for any flaw of dilution. Okay. Yeah, looking for dilution is certainly the big one, right? Anytime you see anything about dilution, it's an immediate nope. Well, I suppose if it says like dilution is done, I guess that could be bullish, but yeah, this one's just really getting hammered here. Yeah. So this is an oil company with no news where we had this random pop. This is the Singapore one. Yeah, and it just kind of gave the whole thing. And this one also kind of just gave the whole move back. Yeah, so simply looking for... I'll go to TPEC because it's moving. Simply looking for oil could be good for a quick spike, it looks like, but in terms of them holding up, it doesn't seem like just the oil company as the catalyst alone is not enough. You actually have to have news. Okay, SABR. It's getting a bit of a move here. This one does actually meet a lot of my criteria, and I am able to short it. Let me go ahead and plug this in. Okay, does it have news? Adopts limited duration shareholder rights plan. Okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead and plug in some shorts for this because This does meet enough of my criteria. Okay. All right, so I have orders set for SABR. This one does want to fill. It's got some ways to go, and it has been lighter volume, so I'm iffy on it because of that, but this does have good potential, and it matches enough of what I'm looking for. Huge float too. 395 million shares outstanding on this thing. Doesn't seem to be oil company related, which is interesting. Yeah, I might pivot off of SABR here. I'm going to keep the orders up, of course, but this one is moving a lot slower. Yeah, we have quite the handle that's forming on this. Volume is still somewhat elevated as well. There's certainly interest around this area. OLOX is moving. I might not be able to short this because it was under $1. We'll see. It's letting me. Okay, 75%. Recent IPO though. Okay, I don't know about that one. I don't know if I would touch Saber. This would be the third day it goes up, and it's held highs the past 2 days. I get that. I see that in the last day or two it had bigger moves. I'm okay with the risk profile for it, though. The huge float goes in my favor, and the news doesn't seem especially good. So yeah, I'm not super concerned. I'm willing to take this trade, I think, if I get to it. First order is at 153, so we've still got another 11 or another 12 cents to go before I get filled. I just wanted the orders out there. In this case, it didn't matter because it's such a high share outstanding stock that the borrow fee is basically irrelevant. But it's still good practice for me to just try and get my orders out there as quick as possible, just so I don't have to worry about them running out of locates. The pressure's on for me. Candyman made money today. Is that your goal, Larry? To always do better than Candyman? Is that your standard? Dang, DLXY though, just completely fell off a cliff. Ugh. What a horrible pump and this is just generally a pump and dump. The fact that it's going lower, I mean, really how big this is of a pump and dump will depend on how low it goes, right? I wouldn't actually call it a pump and dump yet, just because we're at the level where we broke out. I would argue if we go below this level significantly, the prior day close, that's when it enters pump and dump territory. Lol, yes. I feel that way too. I like to compete with others, but unfortunately this new strategy it's not really built to compete because there's just so much sitting on the side. What a choppy day, fellas. Happy to be finishing green. Can I go to the bathroom? Yeah, you can go to the bathroom. Don't worry. You're just going to miss, like, I don't know, like 3 stocks that move 100% and maybe 1,000% mover while you're gone. Yeah, go to the bathroom, man. Go to the bathroom. What could you possibly miss in the 5 minutes you're gone? It's not like we'll see the entire day's move in that period. Right? It won't happen, right? Yeah, this one's interesting, but I don't know. I'm like iffy because this one's just a lower price stock and it's a recent IPO or merger. As a general rule, I don't like to touch recent stocks because they have the potential to do more crazy crap. We'll pop back on SABR just to take a look at it because it is kind of grinding around this area. Just given on how this one has moved, regardless if I get filled or not, this will probably take longer to even get a penny's worth of resolution. Maybe he's a guy who spends half an hour on the toilet. But if he's got his phone with him, did he really leave the market? Turd. I recognize that name. And it brings me disgust for some reason. Probably did something in the past. Okay, so like, yeah, this had a huge move, but just gave everything back. Okay, so this one's been beaten up for quite a while. First thing first, just want to see if I can even short it. Okay, so since it's under $1, yeah, I would need 100. So if I try to short above $1, yeah, so it literally has to be above $1. So now if I try to, no, now there's inefficient shares. Okay. So this one would be more iffy. It is in a downtrend. I like to see that. This is a stock that has typically not performed well with news. So I would be more interested. The lower price is a bit iffy though. And I can't even short it anyway. I traded Turb at 340 last time. Made a full $1 on that one. Look at this. Look at the way this is kind of picking up steam here. It's March and still no trades. You need to eat. Well, it's literally the first day, man. I'm not pushing it. I understand that my new strategy is going to have less opportunity. The thing is with my old strategy, I would have had much more opportunities to trade, right? This new one is about higher expected value per trade. And it's not just a little higher. It should be theoretically much higher. Yeah, huge volume coming in on this. Okay, so this has energy. This is energy related. Yeah, okay, so Being energy related is significant here. This might actually do well just because of the company. So now we have a stock that's popping up with news and is an energy company. And in hindsight, knowing that, this move makes total sense. Kind of crazy that there's like only 15,000 on this pop. And then just every candle after it had higher volume. Short term at 125. I don't know, like, it seems like energy stocks are doing well. I actually wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's a good starter, right? I wouldn't be surprised if this goes more. I think it's a good starter in any case. All right, you're almost up 100% already. There you go. Okay, I'm really curious to see how much volume comes in on this candle. Ideally, for a reversal, you'd want this to be high. This is fairly high already, so this is an okay candle for bearish. Oh, but if you're going to flip green, could indicate that people bought this up. Very, very high volume. Mixed signals with this. This is a mixed signal candle to me. Unclear if it's going up or down with that. Still continuing to see this elevated volume on this pullback. I don't know, this seeing two candles of red with huge volume, this looks more bearish now. I was like 50-50 here because it did look like we were bouncing. I don't know, this looks more bearish to me. Just curious, do you use the KDJ indicator or not? I do find it useful when paired with MACD. I don't know what KDJ is. Could you enlighten me? Good morning, peeps. You animal with flip-flop. Good chart, bro. I mean, it's an okay short. Like, so it seems like we could actually be getting a bounce here. I'm not sure. Like, I still felt that this was a strong bearish signal. So this pop up, which was on lower volume than this could just be a fake pop and we roll over. I still think I'm more bearish, but the fact that energy is hot right now, and this is an energy company with news, and they're spamming the AI headline, right? They're spamming the buzzwords. I don't know. This actually could do a very, very big move. I haven't ruled it out. I respect his entry, though, here, because it is a first entry. So this being the very first entry is fine, I think. Have to see. SABR, getting closer to my entry. Let's see if it actually does it. Locates are getting more expensive now. I'm sure, right? I mean, with this kind of volume and it holding up around, what, 70, 80%? Okay, it's at 60% now. Yeah, I'm not surprised. SABR continuing to just grind higher here. So it touched 147. Yeah, this one's definitely going to be a slower mover. Interesting, though, is that this entire move up has been on pretty light volume relative to the shares outstanding. This is quite a discrepancy. MACD, not MACD. The KDJ is like the MACD, but it uses 3 lines with J for fast-moving stocks, D for medium, and K for long movements, which can help identifying breakouts and dives. I've never heard of it. The KDJ. I've never heard of it. Using it with MACD would be interesting, right? If you're identifying the speed of a move, it makes sense that you would want to also use something like that, because that's identifying the length of the move. See, those two, I mean, logically, they would go well together. It's holding up quite well here. This volume is still very, very much elevated. Had another attempted break of 230. Looks like a potential rug. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. So what looked bearish initially to me was apparently not. I saw this high volume here on these 2 pullback candles, and I thought, okay, this is overwhelming the buying pressure. But it seems like we're just getting so much volume now that these 2 candles of bearish volume are becoming less significant. Certainly interesting. Really helpful. Trust me, bro. Oop, there we're getting a little pop now. Okay. So it did make another move. So it seems the energy plus headline plus former runner is doing some serious work here. So I'm trying to think. The only other stock we really saw was TMDE. And this one ended up moving like 400%. It's the closest related thing to Turb right now. So if anything, we could look at this as maybe a best case scenario, a 400% move. Turb is currently up a little over 100. So, I mean, yeah, this could run. This could genuinely run like to $2. You're getting huge volume. I mean, comparing volume from TMDE, yeah, you're getting actually more volume than TMDE in Turb. Yeah, what a clean breakout there. Trying for 155. Hey, you might get it. It looks like he might have got it there. 158. An immediate pop back below 150. Got 155, nice. It just hit a 4-hour non-extended EMA. 152, and now rejecting. Yeah, that was a pretty hard rejection too, right? The break of 150, almost to 160, an immediate pullback below 150. Volume's still quite elevated. You beast bro, lol, can't lie, flip flop. Yeah, no, flip flop. He's the king of these. So he basically timed the top on this first pop, and he almost timed the top on the second, like basically timed the top on the second one too. So he's timed both of these tops pretty well. He's very in tune with what he's doing here. Average is 140 and covered some at 138. Looking to add short at 195, so if we get there. Yeah, and I mean, it's definitely possible. Like, this is showing all the strength, and it has the right criteria for what's hot right now. So I haven't ruled out that it could go to 2 as well. That's that 20-year experience. Yeah. Yep. Good luck today, everyone. Heading out now. You have a good one, Skavon. Have a good one. So the half hour's passed. I'm not seeing anything new on the scanners yet. XCRS. I mean, it has news at least. Okay, revenue beat. Yeah, so it's just earnings. Yeah, it's earnings. Just a slow grind up too. 620 to 720 is a significant move on light volume. Seems pretty well within reason though, given how much it moves on the daily. Go ahead and throw a poll here while we're waiting. Gotta have the emojis, of course. See how everyone's doing. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm in the vast minority today, because considering how these stocks have moved, I have a feeling more people have been willing to participate. So I'm expecting a much lower no trade percentage today. Yeah, SABR kind of is fizzling out here, unfortunately. Didn't quite get to the 153s that I was looking for. Hey, still, actually, wow, 42% still no, or around 40. Okay, so we still have some no traders. More than I was expecting. I was expecting around 20% or 25% to be honest, but okay. Yeah, a lot of people green. I mean, I'm happy for that, certainly. It makes sense too, considering how just some of these stocks have moved. But yeah, flip-flop, you definitely crushed this one. I mean, even though you're like probably like realized not up a lot right now, because this did go against you. The fact that you timed basically the top on both of these is incredibly impressive. Yeah, considering that SABR has stalled out, I think I'm going to give up on SABR. It's stalled out now at around low 140s.
Okay, so we're sitting closer to actually 30% of people no trade. Yeah, it seems like we've really slowed down in terms of actual momentum here. Nothing else is really continuing too crazy. Dang, DLXY though. Gave the entire thing back. Very interesting to see us break 150 and then just do this huge correction. Holding the rest for now. Covered a little at 115. I think that's reasonable. We could be doing a head and shoulders for the next leg down. Again, I still have some confidence just because, again, this stock meets the criteria it needs to be one of the bigger movers. DLXY looking more like a rug pull now. Right, we're well below the prior day close at around $1. Am I doing my new strategy today? Yes, even though it doesn't look like it. Yes. Unfortunately, my new strategy has less criteria. There was one stock I was attempting to enter, SABR. It didn't get what I was looking for, so I ended up bailing on it. But yeah, overall, it's nice that we are seeing some bigger movers, but we haven't really seen many stocks move that haven't already moved this morning, right? The big movers we had was BATL, TMDE. Those ones were the pre-market movers. And they didn't really move too much more after 7. BATL did get this second leg up. Well, I mean, it was like 7 whenever this happened. So you got like this final bit of the move here at 7. TMDE was entirely backside. INDO was a news stock that... No, not even this one. This one was also... Yeah, this one... Okay, this one was also pre-market gapper. You had a little bit of a move here, and then that was it. I was thinking of NTLA. This one had news, but just ended up going sideways. Actually, not a very big mover percentage-wise. We had the STAK and DLXY, which... this one's still kind of holding up, but it has given back most of the moves here. This one was clearly just a rug pull. Both foreign stocks, no news. But they were energy related. And Turb was energy related and it had news, and this was able to produce the big mover. So right now it's looking like the market is still actually cold and we're just having sector strength, right? The energy sector seems to be doing well. That's kind of what I'm reading. Dang it, because of Ocean's advance problem, I gave back half my games on Turb. What problem? I'm unfamiliar. RYLB. Yep, I just saw that pop up. What is this? Reverse merger. Wow. Am I even able to short this? Buy power insufficient. Oh, I need to change share size. So I am able to short it, and it is a pretty low fee to short. God, those 14s would have been nice. They would have been. It's very low short fee for me as well. Interestingly. And down she goes. This would almost be a good buy point right here. Bounce setup. Yeah, right around 990. Average daily volume. Oh, okay. Order reject. If you can't enter, if average daily volume is exceeded with same exits. Well, that sucks. Hindsight, this would have been a beautiful bounce play, because 990 would have been a decent entry. Very weird to see this thing halt and gap up like 100% though. On this kind of news. It's very broken. Stupid limitation problem that was solved a while ago, and now it's almost on every stock, it seems like. Missed 3 trades because of it today. All 3 winners. Sorry to hear that, man. Yeah, in hindsight, this would have been a beautiful short, but just too little time. There was no way for me to like accurately understand the situation in that amount of time. For all I know, this could have been a buyout and this thing's going to like $22 or something. Like, there just wasn't time to know. Interesting how we've had this very strong uptrend over the last year. A lot of volume coming through here at around 970. Could suggest a push lower. Right, a lot of the volume went through here right at the bottom. I mean, I guess it could be accumulation and someone's buying at 970. But it reads more to me like people are just dumping. Which would make sense because this has gapped up. Even from this pullback, it's still a significant gap. I guess it really just depends on how big this news actually is. Like, there was a gap, so I guess maybe people intuitively thought that this was bullish. If that's the case, maybe this is the more corrective place for the accumulation to occur. TMDE doesn't seem to be dying yet. Wonder what it'll do at open. Yeah, TMDE and BATL. Both of these are holding up very well. I'm very curious how they're going to do today. Yeah, the energy sector seems to be holding strong. I think it's going to fly at the open and after holding up well. It could. It could. I'm not sold on it either way. I've seen stocks hold up well and then just give everything back at market open. We got a 22,000 share seller at 955. That's pretty big relative to the volume. Yeah, that's a huge seller at 955. Okay, it did get bought though. See, the volume went through there. It did get bought. Someone was willing to buy it. Hmm. Very interesting that that big buy or that big seller would get bought up just to see this rollover anyway. Can't believe we're already coming up on 9. This is so sad. I have to consider though, is it because my strategy is too selective? Or is it just because we're still in a cold market and I'm miscontributing the moves? Because realistically, I don't actually think we had that many moves from 7 o'clock. A lot of the moves had already happened. Because, like, I feel like I've missed the moves because of these. And I'm, like, thinking to myself, maybe I should have been taking trades. But considering that Turb was really the only stock that actually moved impressively, I'm not even going to count our LYB because, again, this thing just gapped up and died. So this one doesn't even count. But realistically, Turb is the only stock that actually, between 7 and 9 a.m., had news that moved and held. So with that in mind, I'm not as upset that I didn't take trades, right? We had the Chinese stocks that were scams. This one's clear pump and dump. And TLA, which just kind of popped up on light volume and then went sideways. Not even a big mover overall, only up 4%. This one was also one that popped up pre-market and just sold off. Yeah, we really didn't have that much. It looks, looking at the gap scanner, it looks impressive, but we didn't really have anything that moved at 7 o'clock. It all happened at the very start of the morning because of the war. So I think it's a little bit misleading. I actually think it's very misleading. The one stock that I attempted to get in, SABR, I was about 6 cents off of a first entry here. 550 or 153. It went to 147. Yeah, I'm glad to see that stocks are holding up. I hope this converts into something better. Over the weekend kind of situation, yeah. That's why early pre-market was hot. Early pre-market was hot. 7 to 9 a.m. was actually not that hot. And just looking at the gap scanner, you wouldn't really be able to tell that. Because I feel like I'm getting a little bit of FOMO for missing a lot of these moves I mean, and it looks impressive to see these moves holding up, and I'm glad they are. Because any time you see moves like this holding up, it makes people more willing to give the next one a chance, which is what sparks that momentum. So that's at least one thing to look forward to going into Tuesday. But yeah, I'll see if anything else pops up here at 9. But I'm not really holding my breath here. Curve could be curling back. Yeah, I'll give it till 9:05, see if there's anything new that pops up. Give it a couple more minutes here. GPET is continuing to kind of grind higher as well. It's made several legs up. Cheap stock, though. TPET and TURB will be interesting after the open. Those and also TMND, or TNDE. This one will also probably be interesting. Yeah, we've had 5 minutes. Doesn't seem like there's news at the top of the hour here. So I'm probably going to call it here. No trades for me. I'm very happy to see that we're getting some good movers here, but just not worth engaging for me. But yeah, I'm going to wrap it up here. You guys have a good rest of your morning. Stay green out there, and I will be back tomorrow. Take care, everybody.